Hello and welcome to the LaLanne Pass It On podcast, where we talk to health and fitness professionals who are spreading Jack's mission to help people help themselves. My name is Greg Justice, and I am here with the star of the show, as always, Elaine, LaLanne. How are you today, Elaine?
I'm fine. I'm always fine. No matter what, I'm fine. Anyway, I'm so thrilled that we're going to have Gunnar Peterson on today because the first time I saw him was at some of the events that we've been doing, and he'll come in by and say hi and but he's got quite a background and also he was interviewed for from TriStar, who did this 100th anniversary on Jack or whatever, and he said some nice things about Jack, and he's the best. He's the best. So anyway, you tell us all about him.
Absolutely. As you said, Elaine, we are thrilled to have as our special guest today, Gunnar Peterson. Now, Gunnar is a Nashville-based personal fitness trainer whose clients include celebrities, professional athletes, and everyday people. Gunnar is the former Los Angeles Lakers Director of Strength and Endurance. He is widely recognized for his expertise in functional training and his commitment to developing and implementing innovative fitness techniques. It is a pleasure to welcome Gunnar Peterson to the show.
Thank you. I think when you say innovate, maybe I want to put that in quotes because it's probably a business of poaching for everybody since Jack. I mean, at some point, so many things came from Jack's mind and Jack's movements, and I think people forget where a lot of that originated, and you have to give real credit. So innovative, maybe a stretch, but you try to put your own spin on things and make them more efficacious for the people you work with. So I'll take that part.
But there was one thing in there that he said, commitment, and you have commitment. And if everybody has commitment, you can follow through on it. But when you're committed to something, and you are an example of commitment, so we admire you for your commitment and what you've done for the business and for physical fitness, right,
Well,
Greg?
I don't know what else to do. It's so funny. I used to get that question early on, and people would say, "Are you still doing that training thing?" And it just would make me laugh because I don't know another uh, vocation where that's asked. Nobody ever says, "Hey, Bob, you still doing that lawyer thing? Hey, you still messing around with medicine there, Johnny?" Like it's just those are just accepted as careers, and this was always looked at as a job. And when I speak to trainers, I think I tell them, I go, you have to know deep down, is this your career or your job? And there's no right or
Oh,
wrong, but
you are
you
so
have to
right.
know going into that, what's your intention? Is this a stepping stone for you to do something else, either related or unrelated? Is this just some way to earn, side money? Or is this your career? And from day one, it was my career. I thought, I have a career now.
You know, I know you've run across people in the business who want to jump from the bottom rung of the ladder to the top of the ladder, and they're going to be a big fitness star, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that, but they don't really. All they think about is being a star themselves, and not the commitment or what you're doing. You just said it. You just said that is the key to being a real professional, because that is what is needed. You can't jump from you can't think of yourself as a big star, and if you just think of yourself as step by step, and I'll help this guy, I'll help that guy, and then I'll do this for them, and that will come.
Yeah, I'm the star during my own workout, and the rest of the day when I'm working with people, they're the star. And each one is as important and gets the same top billing as the one that preceded and the one that follows them. And you can't treat anyone different, or you're going to end up with a very meek and meager roster of people. You treat them all the same, and you have to do that. You're in a service business as a trainer, and if you're not serving, then you're probably not doing the best job you can.
And then you're going to go from one thing to another thing and to jump there. Well, I'll try this. I'll try that. I want to be, you keep thinking you're going to be on the stage. You're going to be on, television. You're going to do this. You can't do that. You got to commit yourself to this person, then that person, and that person, and not worry about being the star,
Well,
Yeah, you're in the wrong. You're in the. If you got into it for that, you're in the wrong business, and you're probably as dumb as most people think trainers are anyway. That's not why you get into this business. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, Gunnar, what do you think the secret is to keep clients coming back day after day, week after week, year after year? What is the secret sauce? Because our industry is notorious for real short relationships with clients and trainers.
Yeah,
You don't suffer from that. Tell us
no.
the secret sauce.
I don't. I think there's way too much transience in the industry, and I think again, when I speak to trainers, you have to tell them a couple things. One, you're not selling fitness; you're selling energy. The fitness is what the fitness is. The workout is what the workout is. It's the presentation. It's how you bring it. Your mood colors the room, and if you're down or glum or heartbroken or worrying about your finances, that's going to bleed over into someone's workout. And over time, even if they can't pinpoint it, they're just going to feel that it's not the vibe, it's not the energy they want when and they're eventually going to peel off. The other thing you tell them is, it's more to the point of, it's not the workout, it's the overall experience. Yes, the exercise is the exercise, but if you're in a restaurant, I assume the food is good. If you're in a restaurant, you went into business to sell food. It comes down to, what was the parking lot? How was I greeted at the door? Is the room too loud? Is it too hot? Is it too cold? Was the service good? Is the price fair? All those things color my take home experience, what I walk out thinking. And it's not about necessarily the croutons were different or the salmon portion was larger or smaller. It comes down to the overall feeling of it. And people will say that to you, say, have you been to that restaurant? I'll say, I love that place, great restaurant. And they don't necessarily pinpoint one thing. And I think that's the same with the workout. If you give an overall great experience from the second they pull up to they walk in the door to what goes on between that minute to when they walk out the door and drive home, if you're curating that every single time, right? You can lose it in a blink, then they'll keep coming. That's at least been my experience, and I don't phone it in.
Well, what you're doing, you're creating a special world just for them, for that 1 hour, 3 days a week that they're coming in, that makes them want to come back.
Yep.
Week over week, over year.
Yes. And now you've had some of the big stars. You were a Lakers trainer, right?
Yeah, I was a Lakers strength and conditioning coach for sure. For 3 years, we won a ring, and then my wife looked at me and said, "Why are we doing this, babe? Why? You're traveling all the time. We have 2 little babies at home. We have 3 older kids. Come on, you won a ring. You're in the NBA. What are you get this career now? You're still." And I was straddling the two. I was straddling my job at the Lakers as well as training clients early morning and late afternoon at my facility. So I was moonlighting in my own gym. Crazy.
Oh,
Hey, Gunnar, I don't know if you remember this, but when I interviewed you for Pride and Discipline, you were in San Antonio.
Yep, I sure did.
For a game. So yeah, you were always on the go.
Yeah, and some of the big stars you've trained, and oh my gosh, we used to go to the Lakers games when we were younger, and when you see them out, you're sitting there and you see them out there playing, but when you see them right next to it, I'm 5'2", and so when I'm standing next to and Jack was short, and so he'd say, "How's everything up there?" It's his birthday today.
We're shooting this episode on September 26, 2024, Jack's 110th birthday. So this is a special broadcast.
Yep,
Yes.
I saw the Instagram post. I loved it.
Another thing that I think people should realize that, oh, another, we were talking about words earlier. Believe. Jack, in our lectures, I'd say, how many people believe that Jack believes? Believing. And how many people believe? And they'd raise, I said, how would you like to hear him sing, I believe? And they, okay. And then he'd sing a cappella, I believe, for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. And then he would sing it in a beautiful voice. And how we got our standing ovations. That's my secret, how we got our standing ovations.
Yeah,
Worked every time.
That's
Hey,
impressive. You don't want to hear me
But the
sing.
word believing, he believes so much in this word because you have to believe in what you're doing. And he did. He believed in everything he did. He just, from the bottom of his heart to his athletic heart to the top of his head. So if you believe, you can't go wrong, I believe.
I believe that too, for sure. There's definitely a way to make that all come, whether it's making it come true or you're just something about the believing breeds the work that gets behind it that makes it all happen. That's what I see. Weird little serendipitous things. I was traveling with a client. I was with Jennifer Lopez years ago in Spain, and I was in a hotel room, and I remember I was stretching my back on the floor, and I had turned on the TV, and I was stretching, and I wasn't sure what our plan for the evening was, so I was kind of just, hanging, waiting for the next the next event on the schedule, and I had the TV on, and I heard this voice, and it was saying in Spanish, "Stand up, hold the chair, lean down," and I looked up, and it was the Jack LaLanne show in Spanish, and he was standing there, and he was holding a book, and he was doing single leg RDL to the contralateral side. So left leg working, right hand with the book. And I just remember thinking, that's a single leg Romanian deadlift, contralateral. He was so ahead of his time. He just knew that if he stayed on this, that it would catch fire. He had to have known because, and I remember sitting there thinking, there's no way we're not training today. It was a travel day. That's why I was sitting there waiting to see how the schedule unfolded. And I thought, man, you just stick to it. And it's funny because it had to be, that show had to have been shot in the early, that episode, by what I remember of it, I remember thinking that had to be shot in the early 60s would have been my bet. And I thought, right?
Every time he go into an elevator, do you know he never pushed the button?
That wasn't a germ thing. That wasn't a germ phobia.
The elevator almost died every time he'd come in, and it was just natural for him. He just goes up with his leg goes way up. It goes
hilarious.
I think one of the people in the book tells that story. I'm not sure.
Mark Rothstein in Chicago.
Yeah.
Mark tells that story in Chicago where he did that with his foot to the elevator. Gunnar, so you had mentioned, with being with the Lakers for the 3 years, and then your wife and you talked about, why are you doing this with, all the family and all that. So we kind of skipped over. Let's talk about that move, because you moved out of California and to Tennessee. Tell us about that move. Why Tennessee, Nashville in particular, and what's going on with your business in Nashville?
I had always planned on leaving at some point, and just the way things lined up, it was the right time. And my parents lived, they had moved from Argentina. They were down there for a while. They bopped around a lot. They were Normandy, France, and Argentina, and then they were in this place outside of Memphis. And I said to my wife, my parents are a little older. I'd like to be around them a little closer. I had a house in Durham, North Carolina, because I went to Duke and I kept a house there. My oldest son had gone to Duke, and my daughter was about to start there as a freshman. And I said, let's go to Durham. Let's pack it up from here. And my wife said, we could do better than that. It's just, I don't think that's the right vibe. That's the right city. We need more cosmopolitan. And I said, yeah, but I'm looking for a little slower pace, more country. So we compromised and found Nashville. And we're about 25 minutes south of the city. And Nashville, the city, has everything we need, but where we are has everything I need. There's more land, different value for the dollar, different pace. But all the people who want to work out, and my gym is 7 miles from my house, and my gym in LA was 2 miles from my house, and it's the exact same drive time, which I find hilarious. And I agreed to pare it down here, so I'm not seeing 8, 9, 10, 11 people a day. Here I'm seeing 5, and I do school pickup, and it's just, I wouldn't say I'm balanced, but I would say I'm definitely more balanced.
Sounds
And
wonderful to me.
yeah, right. Me too. It's working. Took a minute to find your footing, but I think that's probably normal. And the kids are thriving, and my wife is now thriving. And like you said earlier, you mentioned Vanderbilt, where my daughter was for her cancer treatment, and that's we're, knock on wood, we're lucky that we were here, because it's a 20-minute drive up the road, and that's a lot better than had it been somewhere else. We didn't have to
Your
split the
daughter is
family.
4 years old, and she's had this cancer, and you've been, and it's now in remission now?
Yep. Yes. Yes, and she's home, and there's still a lot of legwork. There's still a lot of medicine. She's still on the feeding tube, but to see her walk around the house, to see her in the bed when the sun is not shining too bright, she can go outside and walk in the grass. It's just all the things you want for a kid, and it's hard in a hospital setting to get them the things that I know to be helpful, that I think we all really know: sunlight, fresh air, movement, grounding, those things. That's tough in a hospital that's working so hard on the medical side.
Well, I'm going to ask everybody that's listening today to prayers for your daughter, and what is her name?
Monroe. Her name's Monroe Vivian, so her initials are MVP, and that's sort of a coincidence, but not a coincidence. And so, yeah, it's.
Well, I'm going to ask everybody to pray and believe and see her whole and perfect. So
Thank you.
know that she's going to be whole and perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
How long have you been in Nashville now?
2 years and 3 months.
Okay. So
Maybe,
you're settled in pretty good now after a couple
Very
years.
settled.
Now,
Very
now
settled.
with your gym, do you have a team of trainers, or are you pretty much?
No, I have one other guy. I was very lucky to find him. His name's Colin Shane. He's terrific. And again, Elaine, to what I said before, I said when I met him, is this a job or a career for you? And I said, there's no right answer. I'm just curious to see what your approach is. And he looked at me and goes, this is my career. This is my life, man. And I said, now we're speaking the same language.
When I was started in television when I was 23 or whatever it was, and an hour-and-a-half show every day in 4:30 to 6, and that's where I met Jack in the early 50s. But I found that in the industry, we did everything live in those days, and it's come a long way. And if you watch television, you can see if people really believe what they're saying. Sometimes you hear them talking and you really don't, doesn't seem to be from the heart. But when you find somebody who really kind of speaks from the heart, that's what sells. That's what people want. People want things from the heart.
Yeah, they want to buy from the person who's not really selling.
And when we left television, I worked for this fellow, Les Malloy, bought a radio station and turned into country and western. And at that time, Elvis Presley was a big star. He was coming up, and I remember I was kind of in between country and western and the or what you normally hear on the radio. And I played I don't care if the sun don't shine to get my loving in the evening time. That reminds me of, Nashville.
Yeah. I'm sure there are bars downtown here. I'm sure you could get that played for you for sure.
I'm sure. And I love it. I learned to be a country and western music lover through
Yeah.
that experience. And so that's what life is all about. From one experience to another experience. When you were in LA, now you've got a new experience, a new life. And it's always there's nothing new but change. Change it's always some kind of a change happening.
It is. Yeah, and I welcome it and I like it, and I think that keeps me young. I think that keeps me hopping out of bed in the morning and going to the gym and knocking out my own workout, seeing my people, and then racing with the same energy and eagerness to pick my kids up. And when my older kids come to town to visit, that's even better. And it's just it doesn't get better if you're always facing it with that great energy. That's what I believe.
You ever hear the expression, the only thing constant about life is change?
Yeah.
So pretty right. It's pretty true. All these one-liners are pretty, sometimes if you think about these one-liners that you've been hearing all these years and really think about them, you say them, but then when you really think about them, yeah, that makes a lot of sense,
Whenever they hit like that in LA, I used to write them in marker on the windows in my gym. And I just said to my trainer this morning, I told him something and I said, God, we had that written on the wall. We had that written on the window in the old gym. And he looked, and we have massive garage doors, glass here at my gym, 3 on each side, 16 feet high and 9 feet wide. And I said, maybe we start writing on these windows. And he just looked at me and laughed. And I thought, that's what you do. That's how you remember them. That's how they resonate.
Yes.
That's right. I used to have little things in the kitchen that say stitch in time saves 9 and all those little sayings. And I had them all over the kitchen. And I think those little sayings, one-liners, you don't have to say a lot. Jack said, keep it simple, keep it simple. And if you keep things simple in life, you can use a lot of one-liners, which I do. I learned from him. I stole from him.
It's a business of poaching. We've been over that.
Well, hey, Gunnar, speaking of Jack, I know you've got something in your possession, a weight belt, if I remember correctly.
How do you know? Yeah, you remember that? Wow, yeah, I do.
I remember that from the Pride and not Pride and Discipline, but Anything in Life is Possible. That documentary on Jack that TriStar did. And you mentioned that too,
It's in the book too, because he told me the story when I interviewed him for the book. So tell us that story about the belt and where it hangs today.
It was my first weight belt, and it's signed by Jack, and he wrote, I think it says you're a great trainer and something about keep going or something. It was just I wish I had taken a picture of it. I would have flashed it. I'll send it to you. But I used to have it hanging above the office door in my old gym, and people would say, why does that belt get that top real estate position on your walls? And I go, Jack LaLanne. Like, we're here because of Jack LaLanne. Don't you understand how he paved this? You have to know your history. And now it hangs in the entryway because I don't have an office in this gym until I clear it with the city and get a building built. But it hangs in. It was one of the first things I said, we have to find that belt when we were digging stuff out, because the containers are a mess. And I was able to pull out a few of the important, not that they're not all important, jerseys of players I've trained, but some of them, are godfather to my kids and stuff. So I have those jerseys out, and I have that Jack LaLanne belt, and I have a weight belt from Arnold, and a weight belt from Sylvester Stallone, and a weight belt from Dwayne Johnson. And those are all right in the hallway, but Jack's is the lead one because Jack was the lead one. That's just how it goes. You get pole position.
Yeah, he was very inspiring, and And I, in my heart, thank you and Greg and all the people that have carried on and passed it on. This is a pass it on podcast, and he's always said pass it on, right, Greg? He was tell him about your one of Jack's students or
Yeah, well,
actually,
Kevin O'Connell, when I
yeah,
interviewed him for the book, and he would always tell his mentees, whatever you have learned from me, pass it on. I don't want anything else in return. Just pass on the message of helping people help themselves.
yeah,
And
that's
that's
all he
where we
cared
got the
about.
name.
He,
Yeah.
you know, even at night we'd have dinner. He's, "Oh, I don't care about money. I don't care about anything else. I want to help people to help themselves." And that's all he cared about. And that's all he talked about, you know. And so
It's funny you said that. I did an interview years ago, and I was sitting at my desk on the phone, and the other trainer that I had at my gym at that point was just kind of leaning in the doorway listening to me. And I started going into a workout sequence that I had put together, and I was telling them literally everything. Why wouldn't I? And I'd say this and followed by this, but here's one of the nuances. And he looked at me in the doorway and he goes, "Stop, stop." And I paused. I said to the lady, "Can you hold for a second?" I looked at him. I said, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "You're giving it all away. Don't give away all the secrets." And I said, "It's not secrets. We got to share this. You got to spread it. People are going to do with it what they will. They probably can't do it exactly the way I did it. They'll make it their own. They'll improve upon it. Somebody else
right,
will take it and they'll improve upon it. It's like a car. You know that I don't want the first car that was ever built. I want the one that's 10 generations older and have a multitude of improvements. I think the same with pass it on. Pass it on. Share it. Let people grow it themselves and improve on it.
he was asked by a reporter, what do you think is going to happen to the fitness industry in the future? I can hear him right now. He said, it's going to explode. And I mean, that's practically how he said it, and
Yeah, spot
it,
on.
but you brought up something a bit earlier about the people that just go into the business to to make money. They really don't, they're not thinking about what they're doing and how they're helping. And it's so important to, as we said earlier, believe and come from the heart. Because if it doesn't come from the heart, you're not going to become it's you're not going to be a good business person. It has to come from believing and from your heart and putting your heart and soul into what you're doing.
And committing to it. Commit to it. You can't only be halfway in. It doesn't work, and it's disingenuous to the people that are paying their hard-earned money and turning to you and trusting in you, and you're phoning it in and you're not committing. You're halfway there. I just it's not a way I would want to run a restaurant. It's not a way I would want to sell cars. It's not the way I want to train people. I want to be all in, and when I'm not all in, I'm all out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And human psychology 101 will tell you that people will listen to you to the extent they feel that you are listening to them. And so
Okay.
the only way to really connect with somebody is to hear them, to listen to them.
Yes.
And they can feel that. They
Yes.
can feel that. And then they're much more willing to work the program the way it's intended if they know
Mm-hmm.
you're really listening and hearing what they're saying. So I think that's a basic human psychology.
Right. You're so right.
Yeah.
So right.
Hey, Gunnar. Now, if I remember correctly, okay, you went to Duke, but I don't think you studied fitness at Duke, did you?
I did not. I was a
Tell
French
us
and
how you
Spanish
got
major.
into, how did you get into fitness?
What were you
Uh,
studying?
I was a French and Spanish major because I went to boarding school in Europe. So I wanted to, I really just wanted to graduate. I didn't have a real plan in
Yeah.
college. And so then I graduated and thought, now I got to find, I didn't have to find a job. I had to figure out a job first. Um, and I was into working out. I was a fat kid. So my mom had me in Weight Watchers when I was 10 years old. And I always wanted to not be a fat kid. And I got into working out in college, and then I started, somebody asked me if I could work with them, and I did. And then I saw where it was going, and I thought, oh, this is kind of cool and kind of easy. And then I thought, if I'm going to really do this, I can't pretend. I have to get certified. And I started learning about certifications, and I would fly on weekends. I would go anywhere. I would go to San Francisco, Orlando, Tempe, Arizona, Chicago, and I would take seminars and get as many certifications as I could. I would just accumulate. I couldn't get enough knowledge. I was taking it all in, reading every magazine, every book, anything I could find. And I was working a job at the time in a management office. And after training a few people a few times a week, I thought, I'm making more money with a few people a few times a week than I am at this job. And I left the job, and I just went all in with the people. Anybody and everybody, as much as I could, as many hours as I could. I was tireless, and I did that up until I moved to Nashville 2 years ago. And I've been
How
doing
did
this
you get the job with the Lakers? I mean, from there, I mean, all of a sudden now you're training the Lakers. I mean, it's
well,
amazing.
I had a number of NBA clients one-on-one in their off season for about 21 or 22 years. And I knew a lot of personnel. I knew agents and managers and owners and coaches. And the Lakers made a big change down there. When they made a change, they needed a new strength coach. And they called, and I went, and I told my wife I was going to do it. She goes, how are you going to do that? I said, I don't know. We're going to figure it out. I said, but that's, there are only 30 teams in the league. So I'm one of 30. I said, let's see what she goes. You're going to go corporate. You're in your 50s. You're going to take your first corporate job in your 50s. I said, yeah, I am. Let's do it. I mean, assuming I have your blessing. And I sat with my kids and my wife, and they all said, take it. And I said, you understand that I'll miss games. I'll miss holidays. Like the Lakers always play on Christmas Day. I'll be traveling. There'll be a setback in finances. I won't earn as much. And they all said, do it, do it. And I did it.
Oh,
So
congratulations. Yeah. Well, you're a real role model,
Yeah.
and I just admire you so very much, and what you've done, and what you've committed yourself to, and how you believe it's if everybody was like you, it'd be a better world.
well, thank
Well,
you.
yeah,
I could say, not to just flip it on you, but in fact, if Jack, if the people in Joe Wieters, the Arnolds, all the people who paved the way for
Yes,
all of us shouldn't be overlooked and forgotten and go unmentioned. And I think it would behoove today's current fitness crop, whether they're influencers or trainers or whoever they are, just they should all do themselves a favor. And the history is not that old, right? We're talking
no, it
less than a
isn't.
hundred. You're
They
talking
really
less
don't.
than 100 years of history. Like, come on, guys, you can't go back and learn what paved the way for you, how we got here, how you got here. I think it's worth learning, and I find it super interesting also.
Yes, all those people like Joe Gold, and
Yeah,
there's there's so many of them, that
so many.
so many, and each one has made a road for themselves, and they've paved the way, paved with taken those roads and paved them,
Yeah, of course.
and brought them all together into one fitness
A
empire.
multi-billion-dollar industry that so many people are benefiting from directly or peripherally, and you just owe, it doesn't have to be a moment of silence, but take a minute to recognize who paved the way, and don't ever let that escape you. I think they are due that, in my opinion.
no,
Yes.
we definitely agree. And now you spent some time early on, kind of speaking of history, at Gold's Gym in Venice, didn't you?
Hmm.
Is that where you
I did.
started when you moved
I
to
remember
California?
Joe Gold,
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I do. When I first got to LA, one of the very first things I did before I even got an apartment, I got a membership at Gold's Venice.
Mhm.
In fact, the guy who sold me the membership was Ed Connor, who I think is still with Gold's corporate. And I just said, there's no way I'm living in California without being a member of this place. This is big part of the draw of why I came here.
Yeah, and Muscle Beach was one of the, one of the places where everybody worked out and did the acrobatics, and the circus people used to train there, and people in fitness. It was in Santa Monica until it moved to
Yep.
Beach, and I think people should know more about that too. How that came about, and how it got transferred over to Venice Beach. And
yeah, the pit, they call it, that's still there, and it's been refurbished, and you can still do a membership there, and there are people working out there, and yeah, it's a better version of what it was now, and it's nice. And I do think people should know that that didn't just crop up yesterday. Like, that's been there for decades.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. Jack used to take off on Fridays from Oakland. He was in Oakland, California. He'd take off on Fridays and drive down to Venice Beach, spend the weekend there, and then drive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, from Oakland to Santa Monica.
And you have that picture of Jack and the three high on Harold Zinkin's stomach.
I do, and I'll overlay it while we're talking about this in the edit. Yeah.
This interview, because they tried this trick. It's on Harold's doing a back bend.
Yeah.
And there's three people on top of Harold's stomach, and then there's Mo. He's an icon in Muscle Beach, and Jack said he was probably one of the best understanders, And then there was, on top of him was Jack, and then on top of him was another fellow. And until Harold Zinkin was doing the back bend, he said, until Jack got into that position, because he had driven down that day for the day and a day and a half or whatever, and till he got into that position, they've tried it and tried it and tried it. It's never been done before in the United States. Only that time they got that picture. He said it's been done. Harold Zinkin, before he died, said has been done in Russia, I think, but it's a iconic picture.
Yeah.
And it's very famous. It's been in all the papers, and I think Greg can show it too.
I will. I'll overlay it in the edit. So it's a great picture.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you were one of the icons that started really you're paving this way for this, and so we can't thank you enough for being you and believing so strongly, and telling everybody about how important it is that you keep your bodies moving, because if you don't move, you can't move.
That might be the first quote I write in the window tomorrow. If you don't move, you can't move. Elaine, LaLanne.
Well, I said something like that to the New York Times when they invite, to so Danielle Friedman, who wrote the article, and she said she got such a kick out of that, and we just interviewed her on a podcast recently, and she brought that up. She said something that if you don't move, you can't move.
Well, hey, speaking of movement, Gunnar, what does your weekly workout routine look like? What does Gunnar Peterson do to stay in the shape he's in?
I train every day, and I do, the time varies, right? It's early morning, but the duration varies, I should say. I do cardio. I'm 30 to 60 minutes, and it's usually some combination of a bike, and then I do ladders on the bike. So 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and then I go back up that ladder. And in between that, I step off and I use the torque ripper pull down machine. I do farmer's carries, overhead carries in the driveway, and I do jump rope. And then I stretch for, now it's probably 20 minutes. It used to be about 8 or 9, but I'm older, so I'll take that stretch.
Oh,
And,
that's great.
yeah. And then I do weights for 30 to 60. Look, on the biggest day, it's probably 2 hours and 20 minutes. On the fastest day, it's probably an hour and 10. And I do the weights after that. And I usually hit full body. I hit everything, functional movements, wherever I'm feeling like I want a little work. And I usually keep it at 3 sets of everything. And I do everything in a fast-paced circuit. And then I hit a protein shake with oatmeal in it, shower, and I start training people, and I go 5 back to back to back. And then I eat again, and then I head off to school to pick up my son and come back. And then I'm with my son, my daughter, my wife, knock out his homework, and then take him to whatever sport he's in. Tonight, the sport is baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, it's soccer. And we just, we have this little saying in our house: never late, never cancel, never quit. And someone said, you can't live by that. That's ridiculous. That's too high a standard. I said, doesn't mean we're not going to be late or cancel or quit, but it means we're going to do each one of those a little less.
Yeah.
So that's the standard we try to hold. And when he says, Dad, do I have to go tonight? I go, yeah, you have to go tonight. And that's just the conversation.
Jack always said, be an example. Another liner.
I like that. I love it. I love that one.
Exactly.
Be an example.
Well, Gunnar, what does the next 5, 10, 20 years look like for Gunnar Peterson? What's next?
I'd like to get this extension on the gym built. At some point, I wouldn't mind doing a podcast, although I kind of love the fact that you guys are gracious enough to have me on, and I don't have to worry about edit, posting, doing anything. And just thank you for that. A couple projects still out in LA. There's a potential TV show that we're trying to get going that talks about how to constantly improve, even if it's incremental. And as much time as possible as I can with my wife and kids. I mean, the kid thing, as you guys know, they grow up a lot faster than you think. And, I have them ranging from 4 to 26. And it's amazing that I can remember when the 26 was born, and, the 4 sometimes acts more mature than he does. So I want to savor as many of those moments, because when they're gone, sure, they come back, but when they're gone, they're gone. So I love having the moments with my kids and my wife. That's for sure.
My son over here is 76, and my young son is 63. So it's they grew up very fast, and I was always there. Hustle your muscles. I was always in whether they're playing baseball or football or whatever. Hustle your muscles.
Yeah.
Yelling and screaming.
Yeah, and we can never get those times back.
No.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. So
but you're lucky you still have them around. Not a lot of parents get to have them around at that age or for this long, or right. That's a blessing in and of itself. I look at that and I think that's amazing. I hope mine want to spend time with me at that age.
Well, you know what? You can't give up. I'm blind in this eye. I'm macular degeneration, and this eye is blurring, and I can't. My leg is has bone on bone, but I function, and if there's nothing I can do. I mean, I can't change things. I can't
Right.
change. Lost my daughter at 21 in an automobile, but that, you cannot change things. You have to go on. And if anybody is there feeling sorry for themselves, get a hold of yourself and say, okay, I can't change this. I'll do the best I can, and so that's what you have to do. You have to do the best you can with everything you've got. And you are special. Remember this, everyone is very special. They're all individualized in this life, and there's nobody like you. There's only you. And so you should be proud of yourself, because there's just you. There's nobody really like you. So enjoy life, and don't pity party yourself.
Ever. Will do. I agree with that too.
Well, Gunnar, where can people learn more about you, or do you have any projects in the works? You had mentioned the potential television show. What else are you working on, and how can people learn more?
We have an app right now called Common Ground. And the Common Ground app, we're going to launch a challenge coming up where all the benefit, all the proceeds are going to go to children's cancer, because I just see a need for that now, having had a front row seat to it. And I'm on Instagram at Gunnar Fitness, and there's a website, but I think Instagram is probably today's currency. Thank you for asking.
Have you written any books that they could?
I have my first book was G-Force, and then it came out again in paperback as The Workout, but I would say G-Force it's the same content, but it's the hardback and it's a nicer book. And
Yeah.
yep.
So they can probably still buy it on Amazon.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
Gunnar, thank you so much for being our guest today. And again, furthering Jack's message of passing on what we have all learned in the industry from him. It's been a wonderful discussion, and I know Elaine had really been looking forward to getting you on to guest. So we sincerely appreciate you taking the time.
As have I. Thank you. And Elaine, thank you as always. And I love the message. Pass it on. And I will be sharing that tomorrow with my younger trainer at the gym, because he knows who Jack LaLanne is, that's for sure. But I don't think he knows about pass it on. And I think that should be the common thread in the fitness industry, instead of people trying to hoard it, and just pass it on. I love it. Thank you very much.